Recording in progress.
All right. We'll get started in just a minute here.
Are you playing the purple game? Is she doing it?
Oh,
Because last couple of times I've done it, she don't go after it at all.
yeah, she is. Oh, big jump. Big jump. Everything is done.
All right. Hang on a second, please.
Oh, big jump.
For some reason, the share screen button is not here. Hang on a moment while I get it going. Go. All right. If you could please mute yourself, I would appreciate that. Thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and begin. My name is JD Wyzolek. I am the founder of azcollegeplanning.com. And I like to call this talk, the title of the talk, You Don't Know What You Don't Know About College, but What You Really Need to Know About College, or How to Not Go Broke Paying for College. You've probably all are familiar with the ranking systems, and you've probably seen some of these different publications. Forbes has one, Money Magazine, US News and World Report is probably the most prevalent of these ranking systems, and they have a publication called The Best Colleges and published by US News. It all starts with a college ranking system. And you've probably heard, this college is ranked number 1 in biology, and this college is ranked number 17 in engineering, et cetera, et cetera. The college ranking system is everything to the college. So let's explore why. Have you asked yourself, why would a college give out some scholarships? Is it because they're kind and generous, or is it because they want and need a specific student? Colleges ask this question of every applicant. And that question is, how will the student impact the college's rankings? Is it going to be positive, neutral, or negative? If it's negative, well, they're going to just reject that student and move on. If it's neutral, well, maybe they'll admit the student and maybe they'll give them a teaser scholarship of $100 or $1,000 or whatever. If it's positive, if the college determines that student will have a positive impact on their rankings, then they'll bend over backwards and do whatever they can to try and recruit that student and offer that that recruitment in incentives. If you could please mute yourself, that would be appreciated. Thank you. You can also turn off the video if you want to turn off your video. That's fine too. So when a college identifies a student that they really want that will increase their rankings in one or more category, the college will do whatever they can to recruit that student. So whenever there's an upward trend in any category that's ranked, that attracts more attention, and more attention means more applications and more application fees. So I love the rivalries that go on between certain colleges. For example, ASU and U of A. Another great rivalry is UCLA and Berkeley. They compete with each other in that. And this last year, UCLA knocked Berkeley off the podium and became the #1 public national university. And because of that, that attracted a lot of attention. And that attention ended up being applications and application fees. So in 2024, UCLA had 149,900 students apply for 6,000 freshman seats, and it costs $80 to apply. So when you do the math on that, 145,000 times $80, that's $11.6 million that was generated just in application fees. Now that you know that college is big business. And now that you also know this, you can position yourself to win, because application fees bring in tens of millions of dollars. Colleges will do whatever they can to manipulate the rankings. So let me give you a story about Lynn. When Lynn and her dad came in for the free consultation, and I'll offer you that extension as well to come in for a free consultation if you'd like that. If you don't want that, that's fine too. But I'll tell you Lynn's story. When Lynn and her dad came in, I asked the question, what colleges are on your list? Do you have any dream schools? And Lynn's dad said, she's going to NAU because that's all I can afford. And I said, play the game. And part of playing the game is applying to 6 to 15 colleges. The worst thing that any student can do is apply to one college, because if they apply to that one college and they're admitted to that one college, what else does that college have to do to get that student to go to their college? Nothing. But now if that college has to compete with 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or more colleges, then that one college must offer some form of incentive. And the incentives that we want are scholarships. Well, I asked Lynn, what college she's thinking about. Dad says she's going to NAU. I said, play the game. And we helped her identify a handful of colleges. She ultimately applied to 8 colleges. And of the 8, she was admitted to 5 of them. And then 2 of them fell off the wayside for one reason or another. And it came down to these 3 colleges: Willamette University, Whitman College in the state of Washington, and of course, NAU. And we helped her with her essays. We helped her with her application. We showed her how to properly market herself, how to properly sell herself to those colleges. So those colleges looked at her and said, yes, we need this student to attend our college because she'll have a positive impact on our rankings. Well, the first college that admitted her was Willamette University in Oregon, and they offered her $25,000 in scholarships, and Dad's net cost was about 20 grand. Lynn was on cloud 9 for days. Dad, not quite so much. We still got a $20,000 gap. The next college that admitted her was NAU. And after scholarships and everything, Dad's net cost was $10,650 per year. And Dad says, I could do that. I would rather not, but I could do that. And then the last college that admitted her was Whitman College in the state of Washington. And they offered her $40,750 in scholarships and grants per year. And Dad's net cost was $5,000. So what's really amazing about this is she got that same scholarship each of the 4 years she attended Whitman. That scholarship also covered 2 study abroad. She did one in Japan and one in Peru. So the question is why did they give her these amazing scholarship dollars? It's because they needed her. They wanted her. She had a positive impact on one or more category that was ranked, that was valued by the college. Yes, she had good grades and she had some decent test scores. However, One category was girl going into a mostly male dominated major. Don't ask me which one it is. I don't remember off the top of my head. Another category was Arizona kid going to this college in the state of Washington. Now that college can go back to the publications and say, we have geographic diversity. We've got kids from here, there. We got kids from all over. We even got kids from Arizona. Because of all of those things, she ticked those boxes that that college wanted and liked, and she got that amazing scholarship package. And I'm happy to report it's now Dr. Lynn. So a really great question we've got to ask and find out is, what does the college value? And then, of course, do that. If the college does not value that, then, of course, don't do it. So in the case study of Lynn, we instructed her with which activities she should focus on, what colleges to apply to, how to properly showcase herself to the colleges through demonstrated interest, and what to write in her essays, and how to follow up. And she did all those things, and the result was amazing. And I have literally hundreds more of examples. So we're going to learn several acronyms. The first acronym we're going to learn is COA, which is cost of attendance. And cost of attendance includes everything. It includes tuition, fees, lab fees, student ID card, parking pass, meal plan, dorm, books, everything. We want to know what that all-in number is. And in the case of ASU for in-state, it's $37,354 for 1 year at ASU. Now, if you're looking at NAU or U of A, they're all about similar numbers. NAU is a little bit less by about $500 to $1,000. That's just negligible. If you haven't visited some colleges, go visit colleges that are in your area. So if you live in the greater Maricopa County area, take some time out and go visit these 3 schools. Go visit when school is in session so you can see the other students that are there and ask yourself the question, do I feel as if I fit in? Do I feel as though I can make friends? If the answer is yes, keep it on your list. And I'm asking you to go visit these 3 colleges because it's not a big time or money commitment. And they're 3 very different types of colleges. ASU is a large public school. ASU is the largest school in the United States with 80 to 100,000 students. Grand Canyon University is a private mid-sized school, and Arizona Christian University is a small religious college. When you visit Arizona Christian University, look at it through 2 different lenses. The first lens to look at it is the size of the school, and it's about 1,000 students. And the second lens to look at it through is going to be the religious lens. Because it is affiliated with a Christian church, there are some religious requirements. Again, the reason why I'm asking you to visit these 3 colleges is because it's not a big time or money commitment, so that when you do go to San Diego, or you do go to Chicago, or you do go to Florida, and you visit some colleges in those areas, now you've got something you can weigh, balance, compare, and contrast. In fact, after you talk to the admissions recruiter and after you go on the college tour, if you don't walk away with the impression of, wow, that school's amazing, I want to go there. If you don't walk away with that impression, know that they did a bad job. That's their job, is to sell you on their college. One of the categories that I think is most ridiculous in the rankings is most expensive college. So I already mentioned that ASU, U of A, and NAU in-state cost is about $37,000. If your student is interested in going to U of A or NAU Honors College, or they're interested in going to ASU Barrett Honors College, you can add some dollars on top of that, another $2,000 to $3,000. So now you're looking at about $38,000, $39,000, $40,000 for the honors colleges, and that's in-state costs. One of the categories I mentioned is the most ridiculous is most expensive college. And Harvey Mudd College in Los Angeles is ranked as one of the most expensive colleges at $98,984 per year. NYU is hovering at $96,988 per year. And UCLA out-of-state cost is hovering around $80,739. If you really want to scare yourself, go to the college's website and in the search bar, type in cost of attendance. It'll bring you to that page. Sometimes they have all the numbers added together, sometimes not. So pull out your calculator, add all those numbers together. What's the dorm cost? What's the meal cost? What's the tuition, books, et cetera, et cetera. Add all those numbers together. And then take that number and then multiply it times 4 years. And then scare yourself even further by multiplying times how many kids you've got, 2 kids, 3 kids, etc. That's enough to give anybody a coronary right there. And have you asked yourself, how are we going to be able to afford that? And I've literally talked to thousands of families, and they've told me different ideas of what they were thinking about how to pay for college. And these might be some ideas that you might be thinking about as well. And the first one that always comes up is my kid's going to get a private scholarship. So let's put a definition on what private scholarship is. That's a scholarship that your student applies for and wins. If your student gets an email or a letter and it says, congratulations, you've won this scholarship, and they did not apply for it, it's a scam, especially if that letter says, mail us $100 and we'll tell you which one you've won. That is absolutely a scam. So the first thing is they have to apply for it to win it. And if they do win that scholarship, it's portable. They could take it up to NAU. They could take it over to University of San Diego. They could take it over to Texas A&M, or they could take it up to University of Chicago. It's portable that way. Versus if your student won the Wildcat Scholarship at U of A, that's only usable at U of A. So private scholarships are portable. Now, before you spend any amount of time researching or looking for any of these private scholarships, less than 2% of that consists of the bulk of the money, and that is $135 billion of available aid. Less than 2% of that is private scholarships. Let's go after the big money, and the big money is going to be in these 3 categories. The first category is going to be state funds. We want to capitalize on that. The second category is going to be federal funds. We want to maximize that as well. And then the third category that we want to maximize is the college's endowment funds. There are some colleges that are just rich, and there are other colleges that are just flat uber rich. I've been watching ASU for the last decade and a half. And when Michael Crow became president of ASU, he had an initiative, and the initiative was called the 2020 Initiative. And the plan was by the year 2020, they wanted to have $1 billion of money in their endowment. Now, they didn't hit that. It was $950 million. But if you look at it today, they're way over 1 billion. I think they're around 1.4 billion. Harvard claims the #1 spot as being the wealthiest college with over $40 billion in their endowment. That endowment account produces enough interest that every student that Harvard admits, they could give a full ride to. Does Harvard do that? Absolutely not. So what we do at AZ College Planning is we go after the big kahuna, which is the college endowment funds. The second strategy that parents have told me as a way to pay for college is, my kid's an athlete, my kid's going to get an athletic scholarship. And I'm sorry to tell you this. If your student is not the next NBA, NFL, or the next Olympian, the likelihood of getting a full athletic ride, probably not going to happen. Now, if you look at the NCAA's website for Division I baseball, the average baseball scholarship is $13,000. That's way short of the total cost of attendance. I'm not going to say no to 13 grand, but where's the remaining 20,000 or even $80,000 going to come from? Now, sometimes that $13,000 baseball scholarship isn't given to one student. It's split between 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 baseball athletes, cutting that scholarship even further. If you want to go after the big moneymaker sports, that's going to be football and basketball. Which leads me back to the college ranking system. Whenever there's an upward trend in any category that's ranked, that attracts more attention. So if a college can recruit some amazing football or basketball athletes that attracts attention, more students are going to want to apply and go to that college. I had a conversation with Kyle. It was April of his junior year of high school, and we were reviewing his list of colleges. And I noticed that University of Kentucky popped up on his list. I'm like, why is this college on your list? Oh, they've got really good programs. They've got great majors. All right, Kyle, what's the real reason? They just won the NCAA March Madness basketball championships. Oh, okay. You want to go to a winning team, a college with a winning team. So now you know why colleges are always rolling over football coaches and basketball coaches. The next strategy as a way to pay for college is saving up the money. And I read a statistic that the average family has saved $10,000 or less to apply for college. Now, if you save 10 grand or more, God bless you, you're better than the average. But how are we going to make 10 grand go where 100 should? Or how can we make 10 grand go where 400,000 should? And if you have saved the money, the question now is, how does a college financial aid system look at that saved money? There are 3 buckets of money. The first bucket of money is money that's reported that's in the student's name, and that gets assessed at the highest percentage, anywhere from 20 to 25%. The second category, the second bucket of money that is reported on the financial aid system is going to be money that's in the parent's name. And that gets assessed at a lower percentage at about 6%. So sometimes just by rolling over who the owner is, no, the student's not the owner, the parent is the owner of this financial product, sometimes we can qualify for more need-based financial aid. And then there's a third bucket of money, and that third bucket of money is money that's in the retirement system. So that's 401ks, IRAs, Roth, SEPs, annuities, and other retirement financial products. That is not reported on the financial aid system. Ideally, we want the bulk of our money in that category. So sometimes just by rolling over who the owner is, no, the student's not the owner, the parent is the owner, or sometimes by rolling over from one financial product to another financial product, we could qualify for more aid. Now, some families have saved money in 529s. And if you're saving money in a 529, please stop, because let's go back a little bit in history. When President Bush was in office, he signed an executive order that stated that 529s are considered the asset of a parent. Thank you, JD, for telling me that. We have a 529. You also just told me that because it's a parent asset, it gets assessed at a lower percentage than student assets. Yes, that is true. However, as soon as you report to the college and say, I have a 529, they're going to go tag, that's my money, I want it. And they're going to split it into quarters, 25% the freshman year, 25% sophomore year, 25 junior, 25 senior. I had a family who had a 529, and they had $40,000 in their 529 account. When they reported that to the college, they reduced the scholarship amount by $10,000 or 25% of that $40,000. You've saved that money. We want to make it go as far as possible and not have the college shortchange you by reducing your aid amount because you have been diligent. Let's have a conversation and talk about what to do with that money, how to hide and shelter it, and all that. And there are some legal and ethical ways to do that. So sometimes by rolling over who the owner is, not the student to the parent, or from one financial product to another financial product, we could qualify for more aid. Here's my disclaimer on that. Before you move money around, you have to know what the ramifications are, both positive and negative. Sometimes it's prudent to move money around, sometimes not. Each family situation is unique and different. Another strategy as a way to pay for college is pay as you go. And more and more colleges are starting to offer payment plans, is what I'm starting to see. When the current administration signed the One Big Beautiful Bill, one of the things that was in that bill was capping the federal student loan amount to $65,000. I'm not certain when that's going to go into effect, if it's going to go into effect July or several years down the road. I don't know that. I'm definitely keeping an eye on that. When that does go into effect, we're going to start seeing more and more colleges offer payment plans. Another strategy as a way to pay for college is, some parents have told me, is we're going to borrow the money. And there's a loan called the PLUS loan. It's a federal educational plus loan. It's called the Parent Loan of Undergraduate Students. And prior to the cap, there was no cap. So theoretically, if a student was admitted to Stanford at $95,000 per year, and that student was not offered any scholarship or grant aid, the student would be offered $5,500 in student loans, and then the remaining $93,500 could be offered to the parent in a Parent Plus loan. Please don't do that, by the way. I had a family who came in for the free consultation, and they wanted to know what the heck they were about to sign for. So here's the process. Your student is going to apply to the college, and then when they apply to the college, they'll get a notification from the college called the acceptance letter. And the acceptance letter reads like a letter. It's going to look like this. I don't know if you can see that. It might be, yeah, it's blurring it out. Anyway, it reads like a letter. Lots of words on there. Sometimes it states on there, we're giving you a scholarship. Sometimes it doesn't. Regardless if there's any scholarship mentioned on the acceptance letter, that's all it is. It says, congratulations, you're admitted, or you're not admitted. If you're not admitted, that's the end of the story. But not really. I've had some students that were not admitted, and we went back and appealed, and we did get them to reverse that decision and also offer them scholarships. So hopefully your student receives a letter that says, congratulations, you're admitted. And then several weeks later, or maybe even several months later, your student will get a second letter from the college, and that is called the award letter or award offering. And the award letter reads like an invoice. It's going to list all of the scholarships, grants, loans, work study, anything else that's being offered will be listed on the award letter. So this family came in for the free consultation, and they wanted to know what the heck they were about to sign for, because some colleges are devious in their wording on the award letter, and it said PLUS $25,000. And they were so excited. We got a $25,000 scholarship, hooray. And I had to say, sorry, that's not a scholarship, that's a loan. And I'm happy to report they didn't go that route. If you go to my website and click on testimonials, you'll see exactly what Courtney's mom posted on there. Basically, she said, Courtney graduated from a private college. Courtney graduated 100% debt-free, and parents did not take out any educational loans either. That's exactly where we want our students to start their life, with zero student loan debt or as little as possible. Another strategy as a way to pay for college is some families have told me is we're going to use the equity in our home. I won't go into details on that. You know how that works. Another strategy is liquidate retirement accounts. Please don't do that. Retirement accounts are for retirement. Please do not throw out a college based only on the sticker price. So many times I'll have conversations with parents and students, and the parent will say something like, she's not going to apply there, or he's not going to apply there because we can't afford $80,000 a year or $90,000 a year. Please don't throw out a college based on the sticker price. Why? Because private colleges know that they must compete with in-state cost. And if a college really wants a certain student, that college will make it feasible financially for your student to attend their college by offering scholarships. And the example I already gave you was with Lynn. So this is where we at azcollegeplanning.com, where we really excel. We show students how to properly present themselves to the colleges so the college says, yes, we need that student because that student will make a positive impact on our rankings, and we will incentivize admission by giving you scholarships. And we do that by showing the students how to properly market themselves, how to properly demonstrate interest, how to write an outstanding stellar essay and resume, and how to identify colleges that would be very excited about recruiting your student. An important question to ask every college that your student's going to apply to is, what is the average graduation timeline? How long is it going to take my student to graduate from your college? If you go to my website and click on the college results button, the average graduation timeline at a public university is 6 years. Here's an example. ASU, 66% are taking 6 years to graduate. Why? Well, one reason is, especially at a large college, the students trying to get into a 100 level class, and they need to go through that 100 level class before they can get into the 150 level class or the 200 level class. And if that class is full, which happens quite frequently, then they can't get into that class. I do have a strategy on how to get into those full classes. I'll be happy to talk to you about that at a later point. I've got a strategy on that. So that's one reason, is I want to get into this class, it's full, and now I have to wait till that cycle comes back around. If that cycle is next semester, or worse, next year, they have to wait an entire year before they can try and apply for that class again. That's one reason. But the most prevalent reason is because students flip-flop between majors. This week I'm a biology major. Ooh, philosophy major. That sounds really cool. I'll do that. No, architecture. No, I'm back here. I'm undeclared. Every time a student changes majors, that pushes the graduation window out further and further. So one of the things that we do at AZ College Planning is we help students research careers and majors before they go to college. And we do that with our award-winning career assessment tool. This tool will help students identify careers. They'll go through the career assessment tool. It asks questions. Do you like to do this? Do you like to do that? And then it will generate a list of occupations based on how the student answers. And then you click on and you save the occupation, and it will generate a list of majors. And then you click on and you save the major, and then we'll generate a list of colleges. Super awesome tool. Plus, we'll look at your students' demographic and help them promote themselves to the colleges. So those colleges say, yes, you'll make a positive impact on our rankings. We'll help your student with their essays, their applications, their resume, what activities to be involved with. All those things are things that we will help with. Here's my story. That's me. That's my high school senior picture. I think I look about the same, maybe a couple years older. I met with my guidance counselor, and I still remember walking into her really tiny office. She had a little window in the back of the office, and I walked in there, and she says, "Hi, JD. Hi, Miss Nuss. How are you?" "I'm good." "Sit down." I sat down, and she says, "JD, you're a good artist. You should be an art major." "All right, next." And that's how much time I spent with my guidance counselor. No offense to any guidance counselors, they're overworked and overbooked. I went home and I thought about it for all of about 37 seconds. And I thought, artists don't make any money. I don't want to be a starving artist. I've got to do something else. And I thought, graphic artists, I'll do that. Also, at that same time, I was talking with a friend of mine who was a freshman. I was a senior in high school, and my friend was a freshman in college. And I was talking to him on the phone. He says, "JD, you got to come to the school." It was Biola University in Los Angeles. He says, "JD, you got to come to the school. It's so awesome. We have the most amazing beach bonfire parties." And we had some pretty good beach bonfire parties. And he says, "The girls here are super cute." I'm like, "Dude, I'm liking that. 2 for 2. And then I said, "Do they have a graphics department?" And he says, "Yeah." And I said, "Dude, I'm in." And that's how much thought went into me picking my career major in college and all that stuff. What ended up happening is, and I recommend this for your student as well, the positive side, not the negative side. And the positive side is I got an internship. That's what I really encourage for your students to do, is get an internship in whatever discipline they want to study in college. And preferably do that while they're still in high school. I got an internship at a graphics house in my junior year of college. And I realized I don't want to do this the rest of my life, and had to reset and all that stuff. So again, at AZ College Planning, we're going to help your student identify the careers and majors in the colleges. We'll also have a conversation with your student and help them research whatever occupation it is that they want to study in college. There are a lot of good career assessment tools that are available. I think the one that we use is probably the best one. Regardless if you use mine or use someone else's, the question always comes up, okay, now that I have this list of occupations, what do I do next? And that's where we came up with a plan, and we came up with an 11-step process. Go through these 11 steps to research whatever occupation it is that you want to go into. And that will help your student figure out if they really want to do that or not. I had a conversation with a student, and she said, "I want to be a stage designer." Yeah, that sounds fun. And she was involved in theater, doing stage design and lighting and sound at her high school's theater. And she says, "I want to do that." I said, "Awesome. More power to you. Here's the 11 steps. Go do that." And she did research that. And a month or so later, she called and said, "Hey, JD, I'd like to schedule an appointment to talk about careers and occupations and majors." And we had a meeting, and she says, "I don't want to be a stage designer anymore." I'm like, "Well, why not?" "Because they make about $18,000 a year, and I don't want to live in my parents' house forever." Oh, okay. So she came up with that conclusion herself by going through that research. What we ended up doing was we ended up coming up with another occupation within the theater and film industry that she can make a really good living and not live in mom and dad's house forever. There are 2 main financial aid forms. Let's talk about these. The first one is the FAFSA form. You may have heard about this one. It is an acronym, Free Application for Federal Student Aid. The second financial aid form is called the CSS Profile. There are some similarities between the two, and there are some differences between the two. The first difference is the FAFSA is a static form. Colleges cannot add or subtract questions, whereas the CSS Profile asks all the same questions. They're on the FAFSA form, and in the supplemental questions section on the CSS Profile, Colleges can ask whatever question they want. So MIT requires the CSS profile. And in the MIT supplemental questions section, MIT asks this question: what is your kid's cell phone number? I have a conspiracy theory for that one. If any college on the financial aid forms is asking for your student's cell phone number, please instruct your student to reply with this answer: I don't know, or 0. Another question in the supplemental questions
What's
section,
your reasoning for that?
because well, here's a true story. And the mom told me this. She was on the phone with her friend, and she told her friend, yes, we can afford $40,000 for college. Well, the student heard that and notified the college, my parents can afford $40,000. That's not what mom said. What mom said was total $40,000. And what the college assumed was $40,000 per year. So always answer 0 or I don't know. Another supplemental question that can be on the CSS profile is: what's the make, model, and year of your vehicles? JD, why are they asking me that question? Because if you claim that you have a 2026 Bentley and your adjusted gross income is $50,000 a year, those two don't match, and they're going to start asking more questions and stuff. Another primary difference between the FAFSA and the CSS: the FAFSA is free to submit, hence the name, Free Application for Federal Student Aid. And the CSS profile is $25 for the first college and $16 for each additional school. So if your student is applying to 3 colleges that require the CSS profile, that's going to be $57. And the CSS profile is administered by College Board. College Board is the same entity that creates the SAT test, PSAT, APs, and a few other things. I've had conversations with families and they've told me, we make too much money to qualify for aid. Why should we fill out these forms? It's part of the process. It's part of the dance. It's also another way to demonstrate interest, and demonstrating interest is critical. I had a conversation with John and John's father. They hired me to help John, and we helped him with his applications, his essays. We showed him how to properly market himself to the colleges. And when it was time to submit the financial aid forms, John's dad was telling us, we make too much money to qualify for aid. I don't know if we should do that. I said, it's another way to demonstrate interest. Yes, we should do that. And I will help you. I will assist you with these forms. Let me give you a little backstory on John's dad. John's dad made $1.5 million per year. He had $5 million in his checking account. I'm like, move it somewhere else where you can get more than 0.5% interest. He had another brokerage account with $10 million in there. He owned several $1-million homes, free and clear, just a very wealthy family. And based on all of that data, they were not going to get any need-based financial aid at any college. I encouraged John's dad, let's submit it. We helped him with that. John applied to, I can't remember which school it was. It was one of the 2 George schools in Washington, D.C. It's either Georgetown or it was George Washington University, which is predominantly a need-based aid only school. What need-based aid only means is if the student is admitted to the college and the college determines that that student does not qualify for need based on the college's formula, that family's paying full price to go to that college. So in John's situation, it was looking that they were going to pay full price. But again, we showed John how to properly market himself to the college. So the college looked at him and said, yes, we need that certain specific student because he will make a positive impact on our rankings. And they ended up offering John a half scholarship of about $25,000 to $30,000 per year. They also looked at Dad and said, huh, he might be a future donor, so let's give them some money now. Every college that your student applies to is going to require the FAFSA form. Some colleges are going to require the FAFSA and the CSS profile financial aid form. Whatever it is that they're asking for, you need to provide that to the college. I won't tell you the name of the college. I'll just give you their initials, USC. So USC is notorious for rejecting students that do not give USC everything that USC is asking for. And one of the things that USC is asking for is both the FAFSA and the CSS profile. JD, why are they asking me? Why is USC asking for that? Because USC wants to know, if we admit your student, can mom and dad pay? Wait for it. The number one way to get more money is apply to 6 to 15 colleges and negotiate. If you ask a college if they will negotiate, they will flat out tell you no. The thought process is apply to some reach schools, some target schools, some safety colleges, and that. I'm not a big proponent of that. Because if a student applies to a reach college and that student is admitted to that reach college, that student's probably going to pay full price to go to that college. So here's Danielle's story. When Danielle and her parents came in for the free consultation, they actually hired us, and I was having a conversation with Danielle and her parents, and I asked, have you visited any colleges? No, we haven't visited colleges. I said, go and visit them now. Visit sooner than later. And it was Danielle's sophomore year of high school. And Dad says, oh, we're going down to Tucson for a family vacation. And while we're there, why don't we go and visit U of A? I'm like, yes, take a little bit of time out and go visit a college. So if you happen to be visiting on a vacation in San Diego, or you're visiting in Chicago, some relatives or something, take some time out and go visit a college or two in that area. But before you do that, visit some local colleges first so that you know what you can weigh, balance, compare, and contrast. So Danielle and her family did go sign up for the tour at U of A. And after the tour, Danielle and I had a conversation, and Danielle says, that's my college. That's the only school I'm going to apply to. That's the only one I want to go to. And I begged her and I said, please apply to more than one college. And she did. I can't remember how many schools she applied to, 6 or 7 or so. And she was admitted to most of those colleges. And she was admitted to U of A. We knew that she was going to be admitted. What we didn't know was how much scholarships U of A was going to offer. And certain colleges, like University of Arizona, are notorious for lowballing on scholarships. Parents will get that award letter and they go, oh, I guess that's what it is. I guess we'll just pay, or we'll take out some loans to do that. Well, Danielle's initial offer at U of A was $0. You want to come to our college, you have to pay full price. And Dad calls me on the phone and says, I don't want to pay full price. And I asked, well, what other colleges was she admitted to? And what other colleges offered her some scholarship money? And Dad says, oh, she's admitted to this college and got money, and this college, and she was also admitted to NAU, and NAU offered her some good scholarship money. I said, great, take the NAU award letter and go down to U of A and go, they gave me this. What can you do? Not only did they beat it, but U of A also gave Danielle an iPad. Danielle was really excited about the iPad. Dad was more excited about the scholarships. Again, if you ask, do you negotiate? Colleges will tell you no. I mentioned that with another family, and Dad called me on the phone and said, JD, I appealed at ASU and they said they don't negotiate. I'm like, okay, first let's back up a little bit. What did you do? And who did you talk to? I wrote an email, and in the email I said, "Do you negotiate? Can we have some more money?" And I sent it to the general admissions department at ASU, and they replied back, "Sorry, we don't negotiate." I'm like, "Well, first off, we need to make sure that we're talking to a person who has the authority to make a decision." So we looked up and find out who the admissions director was, who the financial aid director was, and I helped them craft a nice letter, and we sent that letter over to the college, and we got a nice response back from the admissions director, and the admissions director said, "Sorry, we don't negotiate." Well, 2 weeks later, dad and student logged on to the ASU student portal, clicked on the financial aid section, and found that magically another $2,000 appeared. And then a couple weeks after that, another $1,000 appeared. So we ended up getting $3,000 more just by asking. Here's a few examples of our results. McConnell applied to 9 colleges. He was admitted to all of them. And NYU offered the best scholarship package, $65,820 in scholarships per year. Parents' net cost $8,914 per year. NYU wanted him the most and gave him the best scholarship package. If we multiply that over 4 years, that's $263,280 over 4 years in scholarships. Why did he receive that? McConnell did the work. He was coachable. He followed through and he got the results. And he applied to NYU as not a theater major. If you look at NYU, 40% of the students at NYU are theater majors. And yes, NYU has a really good theater program. They looked at McConnell, who applied as a real estate development major, and said, "We need more of those students." And he fit all the other parameters, and they gave him a great scholarship package. Here's Rohit's story. I love to ask this question: what's good? Good is being admitted to the college. What's better than that? Getting a scholarship, of course. What's better than getting a scholarship? Getting a full tuition scholarship. If you talk to your friends or any other student and they tell you that they got a full ride at ASU, U of A, or NAU, be very skeptical. What they probably got was full tuition. And full tuition is about $12,000. Subtract that from $37,000. And now we're still short by 25 grand. Okay. So be very skeptical if they say they got a full ride. They probably got full tuition. What's better than full tuition scholarship? Of course, the coveted full ride. And what a full ride covers is everything: tuition, room and board, meal plan, books. The only thing that it does not cover is transportation. Getting your student from your home to wherever the college is located, whether that be fuel for your vehicle or a bus or a train ride or even an airline ticket. That's extra, but full ride covers everything else. What's better than a full ride scholarship? This example, and I'll zoom in on it. What he was offered was all tuition and mandatory fees for 4 years, $4,000 per semester cash stipend, $1,500 per semester on-campus housing stipend, and an up to $6,000 one-time award for study abroad. When you add all of that together, he was getting paid $3,000 to go to college. What's better than getting a full ride? Getting paid to go to college. Does this happen? Yes, it does. if this is something that your student wants to aspire to try and earn and achieve, let's have a conversation about that. Here's a few more examples. Nicole was admitted to Wash U, $45,465 in scholarships. Parents net cost 11 grand. When you multiply it times 4 years, it's $180,000 in scholarships. So Nicole did the work. She was coachable and followed through and got the results. Bruce was admitted to Notre Dame, $51,000 in scholarships. Parents net cost 13 grand. Bruce's dad thought that my tagline, it could be cheaper to go to an out-of-state college than it would be to attend an in-state college, was just a sales pitch until we did it for his.
That sounds good.
And then we did it again. So if you multiply it times 4 years, $204,000. And then we did it again for Bruce's sister, Adele. She went to TCU, $216,000 in scholarships over the course of 4 years. But JD, are all these students super brainiacs, have perfect GPAs, have perfect SAT scores or ACT scores? No. Here's an example. This particular student was admitted to Spring Hill College in Alabama, and she was, it was less expensive for her to go to this college after scholarships than it was for her to go to ASU. And she ticked off the different boxes that this college liked and valued and was ranked. And her GPA, 2.3. But she hit some other boxes, leadership and community service and a few other things that added some scholarships, which added up to be less expensive to go there than to attend in-state. You don't have to have perfect grades or perfect scores just to, you just need to find and target the right colleges. And that's where we at AZ College Planning can help with that. We can also help with military academies. I love this story about Tanner. When Tanner came in the office, his sophomore year of high school, he says, JD, my dream is to fly jets for the Air Force. So I'm going to apply to the Air Force Academy. That's the only school I'm going to apply to. And I said, please apply to all the military academies, apply to all of the ROTC programs, and have a backup plan. And he agreed to all that. And then a little while later, he called me to schedule a meeting, and we were talking about his plan. And he says, JD, I've been doing some research on the Air Force's website, and the minimum ACT score is 24. I got a 25. What do you think? I said, they're going to take your application and they're going to throw it in the trash. Really? Yeah, because you're just barely above the minimum. So we plugged him into our program, and our program is called Beat the Test. And in the Beat the Test program, we show students how to beat the test. The SAT, ACT, and APs are all standardized tests. Because they are a standardized test, they have to follow a pattern. We show the students how to identify those patterns. He went through that program, ended up with a 29 ACT score, was admitted to the Merchant Marine Academy in Kings Point, New York. And when they came out to hand out assignments, they're like, where do you want to go? He says, Air Force, and followed his dream and is flying jets for the Air Force. Here's another story about Jonathan. When Jonathan came in April of his senior year, we had been working with him for the last several years. He applied to, I think it was 8 colleges. And it really came down to this particular college, George Fox University in Newberg, Oregon, which is right outside of Portland. And he says, this is the college I want to go to. So Jonathan and his parents and I were all having a roundtable conversation just before he was ready to choose and pick which college he's going to attend. And his parents said, we're willing to spend X dollars for you to go to college. Anything above that is going to be on you, Jonathan. You're going to have to get scholarships, grants, loans, whatever. And what George Fox was offering, plus what the parents were willing to spend, we were $5,000 short of what our target was. So Jonathan says, I've got this plan. I'll defer admission. And yes, you could do that at almost any college. You fill out the deferral form, and what they'll do is they'll hold your spot for 1 year. So Jonathan says, I'll defer admission for 1 year. I'll go get a job. I'll save up some money, and then I'll go to college. I'm like, what are you going to do? Work a year, go to college a year, work a year, go to college for a year, take 8 years to graduate? No, 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 no. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to call your admissions representative. Jonathan, you know who your representative is, right? Now I'm asking him loaded questions because we had already instructed him on how to find out who his rep was and how to develop rapport with that person. He says, oh yeah, I know who that is. I said, call them on the phone. Don't email, call them on the phone and say this. Thank you for admitting me. Thank you for giving me scholarships. My parents are willing to spend this much money for me to go to college. And based on what you're offering in scholarships versus what my parents are willing to spend, I'm $5,000 short. What can we do? And poof, magically another $5,000 appeared, and Jonathan graduated in 4 years, not 8. Cole went to La Tech. He got 100% of tuition plus extra. Chad went to Vandy. And when I was talking with Chad and his mom pulls me aside and says, please don't encourage him to apply to Vanderbilt. We don't have the money. We can't afford that. I said, he needs to apply that college. He's got the package. Short story is, Chad was offered $231,000 in scholarships per year. Mom's net cost $5,000. I got a really nice email from mom after that. This student was admitted to TCU, $212,000 in scholarships, graduated 100% debt free. And through TCU's career center, landed an amazing job in Denver with a financial firm. I don't know how much he's making, but enough to move out of mom's house and buy a house in Denver. Trevor went to NAU. He graduated 100% debt free. This is exactly where we want our students to graduate, with zero debt or as low as possible. Jared was admitted to IIT, Illinois Institute of Technology, $159,000 in scholarships over 4 years. And again, I have hundreds of examples of that. Loyola Chicago, we appealed and we got an extra $8,000 from the appeal. I want to help tell your student success story. And this is how we're going to do it. At AZ College Planning, these are the services that we provide. One-on-one student meetings. We help by offering personalized one-on-one meetings, compassionate guidance, and motivating support that keeps your student on track, confident in their college journey. Plus, we'll have some parent meetings. Parent meetings will be more on the financial side, looking at your numbers, offering some ideas and suggestions on that. And we offer a variety of different classes. I already mentioned the Beat the Test class. We also have a How to Study class, the marketing class, resume class, application essay class, some parent classes, and more. The influencer and marketing class is hosted twice a year, once in the fall, once in the spring. And the spring class will be in March. The fall class is in September. The reason why we do it those dates is because it's right before the big college fair. So in this class, I'm going to instruct students, when you go to the college fair, here's the questions you ask. Here's how you develop rapport with the admissions recruiter. Here's how you follow up with that person. If you would like a complimentary, no obligation college consultation, please either click on the link or send me an email, jd@azcollegeplanning.com. And when you come in, I will be very, very frank with you. And I will say, yes, I can help you, or no, I cannot help you. If I cannot help you, I will point you in the right direction. If I can help you, then rest assured, we're going to do some really great things for you and your student. And here's another example of that. I got this text message from Noah, and I'll just read it to you. It says, I got into Georgia Tech. Thank you for the 10-week plan you gave me. It helped me get into my dream school, which means a ton. I'll be attending Georgia Tech in the fall. And I got $32,000. I got $32,000 a year. It was the best aid I got outside of ASU. That's $128,000 that he's going to be getting over the course of the next 4 years. Was it worth his family hiring us? Yes, it was. You only get one shot at getting into college, so do it right. Don't leave it to chance. We are the nation's leading experts in admission and financial aid and guiding families with proven results since 2007. If you would like to explore how we can make a real measurable difference with college admission and college scholarships, please send me an email, jd@azcollegeplanning.com. Include your name and include a daytime phone number that we can reach you at so we can schedule that free consultation. Also include the year that your student is going to graduate high school. If you have more than one student graduating from high school, put all those graduation years in there. And I'll reach out to you and schedule a free, no obligation college consultation. If I didn't answer any questions that you have, please send me an email at jd@azcollegeplanning.com and I'll be happy to answer those questions. Thank you very much for attending, and I hope you have a great evening. There are a couple questions in the chat. Do colleges somehow find out how many other colleges a student has applied to? Yes, we're going to tell them. Is it too late if my child is in their junior year? No, but we need to kick it into high gear. Juniors need to really start doing some things to stand out. Again, thank you for attending. Have a great evening, and have a great evening.